Welcome back. I've got Naomi Johnson online. Naomi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Really looking forward to this conversation. And we were talking about this a little bit in the pre-show before I decided let's not spoil it and let's actually record this thing. We talked about LinkedIn. So why don't you share a little bit about you and the work you do, and then we'll dive in the conversation.
Yeah, so I write people's LinkedIn profiles to position them as the go-to expert. I usually work with people whose subjects are hard to Google and whose prospects usually generally don't know they have a problem until you start talking to them about it and they go, oh my gosh, actually I've been living with this problem for a long time. And I write people's LinkedIn profiles to position them as the go-to expert and so they have prospects coming to them pre-sold and ready to buy. Our businesses are time sensitive, so we don't have time for follow-up calls, just doing messaging campaigns. We just want the person to come going, you're my expert, I'm ready to invest. And that's how I help people.
Well, it's really important because our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. So when I look at LinkedIn or any other type of platform, first thing I'm going to do is look at that, the profile text and see what it has to say. And that
Yeah.
should at least educate me what that individual or that organization is about, so I don't have to guess.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
most people, they don't want to take the time to guess. It's like, trying to, look at page 2 of Google results. Does anybody go
Yeah.
there? I mean, I have occasionally, just for fun and games, like, what's on page 2? Just like, what's in here, kind of peek around the corner type of thing. But
Yeah.
it's such an important part of the real estate on LinkedIn, of
It's
course.
so important, yeah. Because like a lot of people, they put so much attention on to posting good content, which is a huge amount of time to actually create it. And then obviously to get the engagement to make it work. And then they look at statistics like the number of followers or the number of engagements. And all of these are really vanity statistics that mean very little if you're not getting return on investment. And by that, return on investment is paid clients. And it's working through the customer journey of what does a customer need to see in order to want to work with you. And that is really what comes down to the LinkedIn profile.
And again, it's really important to do that because I know a lot of people spend a lot of time on their bio photo, which is important. The backdrop or the banner. That's a good
Mm.
use of real estate as well. But again, that's not what people are necessarily seeing. Yeah, they might notice your face first, but they're going right to the profile. They're not going to
Yeah,
scroll. They're going
no.
right there. So what are some tips for people that they some things that they really should put in that limited amount of real estate,
Mm,
because it's
yeah.
not like you don't want to have 18 paragraphs because people aren't going to look at that either. But what's some tips that you suggest for
Yeah,
people?
you have to really work with the psychology of LinkedIn. Nobody logged into LinkedIn today to find your LinkedIn profile. And even if they did, that's because they already know who you are and they're just going to collect you into their network for future reference. They didn't come to read it. So we need to interrupt their day so they actually read it, even if they've got an idea of what we do. On LinkedIn, there are 3 strategies. There's your proactive, your active, and your passive. You send a message to somebody, they're going to go, who are you? Come to your LinkedIn profile. You write a comment on someone's post that's insightful, or you post a piece of content that's insightful, they're going to go, oh, who are you? And come to your profile. You've got seconds to get their attention. So the profile photo is like looking across the room and going, oh, that looks like a nice person. He's approachable. He's well put together. I'll go over. Your name. Hey, I'm Naomi. Hi, I'm Michael. That's your name. What do you do? That's the headline. And then I've got a couple of minutes before I'm going to get interrupted. And the first thing people do when they look at the profile is scan it from top to bottom. Is this well put together? Is it easy to read? And what is the context of the conversation I'm about to have? How is this relevant to my day? Because if it's not relevant to them, they are looking at it like, this is a waste of time, I'm going to leave. So we need to instantly set the context with the visuals that we have on there. Background image, featured content. That's what's going to jump out. And then, those keywords around your job title and different bits like that. I'm not saying load it with keywords at all, but it's how well and sharp is that? Is it overloaded? Is it a mess? Have we got too many dashes in that cramp everything together? Those kind of things will put somebody off even bothering to try reading. What we then want to do is we need to go more into the context of the conversation. So the about section needs to start off with, what is the context of this conversation? Why am I here? We need to consider that not everybody who's coming is our ideal market. But they are people, if they understood the problem that we solve and the impact of that problem and the symptoms of that problem, they would actually go on to be a really good referral partner for us. Whether they remember our name or they don't remember our name, we love to interject into conversations. Oh, I know something about this, da, 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 da. And that creates awareness in the other person. And because you're probably connected or second degree, within a few days, they're going to see your profile come up on LinkedIn. They're going to see it in the side and go, oh, look at that keyword that's sitting in that headline. That's what so-and-so was talking about the other day. And they'll open your profile up. So it works on this really organic way. We just need everybody in our network to know what it is that we actually do. And to understand it. And I don't mean in a functional way. I mean as like we are all walking around with problem. We have symptoms of a problem, right? There are industries where, like you burst a pipe, you get a plumber. Your car's broken down, you get a mechanic. But in a lot of our industries, our people aren't educated enough with those keywords. So keywords are irrelevant. I need to know, like, what are the symptoms of the problem? Why are you credible at this? What do you believe about it? And how do I get in touch with you? And that call to action is so important, because it's that call to action is the thing that's going to link your LinkedIn profile and everything you've done on LinkedIn to your sales funnel. And it can't be have a chat with me, send me an email, book a one-to-one, because there's no value exchange in that. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know why we're having this conversation. So designing the call to action properly is really, really important. That's something I work heavily on with people. And then in the experience entry for the current job, the role you're in, the company that your company, you want to really lay it down. This is my company and this is what it does. So there's absolutely no confusion. Everything I've read and seen, this is the company, this is what it does. So as an ideal prospect, I'm like, good, that's exactly what I thought. I feel safe to approach. I'm not going to embarrass myself. And then what we want to do is we want to know how it is that you serve people. Like, what does a package look like? We want to go in with all the bells and whistles. This is my massive package. And people go, God, that sounds amazing. Whew, but I don't know this person. I'm not going to invest in that yet. And then the entry point, the product for prospects. Oh yeah, I can see myself doing that. But I still don't know them. But this call to action, that's an easy first yes, I'll take that. So then it links through to the sales funnel and you start that conversation. And of course, there's lots of other features to take care of as well, but it really is about working with limited time, limited attention spans, making a good first impression, and what it is that draws the reader in and keeps them reading.
And there's so much gold in what you just said. And, even I'll pick on the call to action. So often I'll see, a profile on LinkedIn and I'll look at it and I'll go, I still don't know what they do. And I don't know how to work with them. And I don't know what they serve. And you look at it and you can see, they're trying to say what they do, but it's not coming through clearly. And confusion repels and clarity attracts. And when you are, you have clarity, people understand, okay, I know what this place does. I know what this organization does. I know what this person does. And
I know why they're good at it. And the interesting thing is that 74% of people who come to an awareness of a problem through you will buy from you, because you started that journey with them. You've added value to them. So it's really working with, when I talk about pre-sold and ready to buy, as I said before, it's about them coming with investment, coming knowing that they've got a problem. And it could be before they arrived on your LinkedIn profile, they didn't know that they had a problem. They've been living with the symptoms for so long. LinkedIn allows us to awaken people with our content, which is just floating around in the atmosphere out there. It's like being at a big networking party and overhearing something, a conversation next to you, and deciding to join in on it. That's what a piece of content is. And then it's like, oh, and who are you? And we want people to book into our diaries without us even knowing who they are, and coming going, you're my expert, totally on board with what you're saying. I mean, I had someone the other day put themselves in my diary. I hadn't met them before. I checked out his LinkedIn profile before the session, and I swear to God, I literally thought, this guy's coming to market to me because his profile looks good. He had all the visuals good. But actually, when it came to reading it, I just found myself going, oh, I'm just not going to read this. I'll just ask him what he does. And when he came in, he said, I get what you're talking about. It's about the structure of the business that has to exist behind the profile to make it all flow and your customer journey work. And this is not what's working for me. And he became a client. And I was just like, this is amazing, because you actually knew, it's not so much about the profile. It is about the profile, but it's about the business structures that go beneath. You know, it's about making sure that you've got a product ecosystem that works, that draws the person in on those easy first yeses, that has them get to know you. And if they don't have a big enough problem worth you solving, they disqualify themselves from reaching out, but they take your free content and they tell other people about you. It's about having that call to action, as we mentioned, and it's about really being able to articulate the problem you solve and really niching it down in a tangible way that people get it, talking about the symptoms of the problem, because no one's going to recognize your keywords because they don't know the symptoms of the problem and the impact of not solving it. And then having that person being able to take the easy steps and go, that's worth half an hour of my time. I'm going to go speak to that person and I'm going to share my private confidential information. And for a lot of people, especially in your world, Michael, with burnout, a lot of them will be verbalizing for the very first time that they're struggling. They haven't told anybody else. And that's vulnerability. And more than vulnerability, if after that half an hour intro call, they've put something into motion in the world by speaking into words, something they haven't before, that they've opened up this huge thing. And how are we going to assist them? How are we going to support them in that? It's not that we have to work with them, but whatever we do in that half an hour, we have to keep them safe. And they have to know that they are safe. Whether that's working with us or pointing them in the right direction for something that's more appropriate for them. You know, there's vulnerability. You know, admitting your company is dying and like you're going to lay off all of your staff is a huge deal. Like, how many people in your world can you tell that to? Can you trust this advisor that they're not in your network and they're not going to go and tell other people, your customers, that you're struggling with this? Do you know what I mean? So there has to be a really strong value exchange as to why I'm going to come to that probably free diagnostic with you in the first place.
And yeah, I love how you use that analogy, because I find a lot of people when they come to me, or even organizations that are struggling, it's a tough thing for them. They're definitely, I can tell that they're vulnerable, they're a little bit scared, they're a little apprehensive. So, my first thing is, it's like, okay, it's going to be okay. And just set the framework of, what we say here is between us kids. I don't post anything. I rarely share who I work with. If you go to my websites, you see business names, those are, keynote talks and some work that I've done. But as far as individuals and organizations that I've worked with that are going through burnout or some other mental health related issues, I used to work in healthcare for a long time. You don't tell anything about the patient or what they do. So I'm thankful that I worked in that industry as long as I did, because it reminded me, and I do my best to be private for my own life. I share a lot, but I don't share everything, and I don't need to. And don't worry, there's nothing to dig up, people. So don't start digging. I'm rather boring when it comes to things like that. But at the end of the day, it's creating that situation where, one, creating that, I think this person can help.
Yeah.
And let me invest some time, and just laying that framework where people and say, yeah, come. And I've had some conversations over the years with people that obviously never worked with me, but I gave them some resources and some tips for them to start down the path of making themselves better. And some of them, I've heard from again, some of them I haven't, but if I'm connected to them on LinkedIn, I can kind of see where they're going if I stumble across their profile. And my hope is, if you hire me, great, awesome. If you don't, great. If you use some of the things that I tell you to use and it makes a difference in your life, then that's mission accomplished as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Because in that way, that is a person that is happier and healthier, and that has a ripple effect across everything. So it's really important for people. So again, it's really important. So before we go, I'm always curious, and when I talk with people, how did you end up getting into this work, because
Yeah.
it's not one of those things that, printed out in school saying, okay, these are the careers you're going to go. It's like, LinkedIn profile expert. It's like, I don't remember seeing that on the report. Of course, back when I was in school, I'm not going to date myself, but yeah, internet wasn't necessarily out yet. We had
Yeah.
AOL, but that was about
No,
it.
no
So
mobile phones.
yeah, nope.
Yeah, the concept of a mobile phone was still like, what's that? Yeah, absolutely. So actually, and linking it into burnout as well, my journey was I started up a coaching business in 2005 and made every mistake of the book, quite literally, because I wrote the book, Grassroots to Green Shoots. And I did burnout, and in there it's got a 30-day rescue plan for people whose businesses are going down. And quite a few of the days just do nothing. Quite literally, because that's important. So I had that business and it failed, and I got invited by somebody to come and work with them in their business called Marketing Help for Coaches as their assistant. At that time, I wrote the book. She wanted to leave, and she said, "Naomi, just take over the company." So I did. I then started to move down the road of, LinkedIn's quite an interesting thing to talk about. I attracted the attention of some people in my network, and they said, "Do you want to come and sell LinkedIn training for us?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely," because we haven't got a lot of time, but the guy who taught me sales, it was him, and I really wanted to go and work under him and learn from him. So I said, "Yeah, absolutely." We were in partnership with LinkedIn. We were the only external providers to their global conference 2 years in a row, providing LinkedIn profiles to all of their top big companies that on the recruitment package that they have. And then on one day coming out of LinkedIn in Ireland, we were heading back to the airport. We were in the taxi, and I went, "I just don't get what we're doing here. You guys are being given by LinkedIn all of their corporate clients, but I am constantly selling to small businesses. Why?" And with that, the whole company changed its focus. My commission structure completely changed, and my love for it disappeared, because when I wrote the book, I'd come through a program called Key Person of Influence with Daniel Priestley. It was the first time he'd run it. It's like 13 years old now. So I was on the first program. So I've effectively done it like 7 times now. And I had all this information. And the way I was getting leads for the company was to offer LinkedIn profile reviews. So I did 2 years of learning about people, looking at their profile and working out what worked and what didn't work. And that's when I wrote my book, What to Put in Your LinkedIn Profile. And I just said, when they changed, I said, no, I've got to marry these 2 things together, all of my experience. I started offering people, "Do you want me just to write your LinkedIn profile for you?" Because the people I was talking to were too close to their own business. They weren't wordsmiths, and they didn't have enough time. So that's what started me off down the road of writing. And then I was like, hang on a second, your business isn't actually structured well enough to make this work. And that's where my coaching program came in, of coaching people to get the structure of the business right, and then the LinkedIn profile, then a bit of content, then choose which lead generation strategy you're going to use, and then we'll get you a mentor who's really great at that lead generation.
That's a great story. And I love how you used your past experience and married it with, something that you had the passion to do again, and you were able to merge them together and use all the tools that you've gathered over the years. And that's really important. I always tell people that it's like, don't discard. If you switch careers or industries or whatnot, don't discard those tools that you used, because
Yeah,
believe it or not, you
all
may
comes
actually
together.
use it. Does. And I know a
It's
lot of
cookie
people.
crumbs.
It
Yeah, follow
is.
the
Yeah.
cookie crumbs.
Yeah.
And
I
you
know.
mentioned school, and when I did my A-levels, I did communication and media, psychology and business. There was no Facebook then. Mark Zuckerberg was in nappies. I mean, but the 3 of them come together, and it's like we all have an innate sense of what we're about, and then we follow this path, and it all dovetails together in the end.
Yeah, it's and it's awesome that you recognize that and were able to amalgamate it all together into, the business that you serve so many people with today. So, I've loved this conversation. Where can people find out more about you and this amazing work?
Yeah, so I'd love to give an offer to your readers. They can go to www.theprofile.company. So that's the full word company, theprofile.company, and then /breakfast leaders. And on there, they can find my 18 questions scorecard, which will ask you whether you've got the right elements in your business to be able to become the go-to expert and win new business. And they can also get a copy of my third book, The Expert Economy, which really talks about how to use LinkedIn to position yourself as an expert, and how you get sales calls and how you put your message together and drive it all forward. So yeah, they're very welcome to come and get a free copy of the book and do the scorecard. So www.theprofile.company/breakfast leadership.
Awesome. And I'll definitely have that in the show notes. So Naomi, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate you and all this amazing work you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you.